You to your state capitol to highlight this incredibly important issue for the Commonwealth and for the entire country. Addiction stops people from reaching their potential. It takes away parents and caregivers, brothers and sisters, and in the most tragic but sadly common cases, it takes away people's children. Addiction tears at the heart of our community. It tears at the very fabric of who we are, and it threatens to stifle our economic progress. Our nation remains in the grip of an opioid crisis that is killing tens of thousands of Americans every year. In recent years, it's been made even worse as we have faced deadly fentanyl as a state and as a nation. The good news is there is hope. And the reason there is hope is because of the folks gathered here today who wake up every single day not to run from this addiction crisis, but to run to it, to save one person at a time, and to make sure we have the structure to take care of every single person who needs our help regardless of where they are in this Commonwealth. My faith teaches me about both healing and second chances. And our addiction recovery community, treatment community, every day lives out those faith and values by being there for their fellow human being. When asked about the most important commandment, Jesus said, love your God and love your neighbor as yourself. And in the parable of the Good Samaritan, he said, everybody's your neighbor, with absolutely no exceptions. So I want you to know that each of you is living out our calling as a people when you help another person, especially one struggling with something as difficult as addiction. And to everybody that's here, that's in treatment or recovery, to everybody who's trying, I don't care if it's your first, second, third, fourth, or fifth time, as long as you're trying, we are so proud of you. And I want to commend each of you for your bravery. It's not easy to tell the rest of the world about what you've gone through. I think about the courage of our peer support specialists who could easily leave what might be one of the darkest times that they've lived through, but they run right back to it, to be that beacon of light, to help that next person through. It is truly special to see. This work has been part of my mission since long before I was governor. When I served as Attorney General, I put addiction issues and especially the opioid crisis front and center. I took on those big drug companies that flooded small counties with tens of thousands of pills for every single person who lived in it. And I'm going to tell you, I sued more opioid companies than any other Attorney General in this country. And when they sent their big city, high-paid lawyers from New York and elsewhere into our courts, I walked in and argued those motions personally. Because these recoveries that we're starting to see, these dollars flowing in, they are blood money. They are money that these companies owe us to repair our communities and ultimately to put us in a place where a crisis that has arisen in our time, we ought to be able to resolve in our time. Yes, that's a big undertaking. But as a dad of a 12 and a 13-year-old, I don't think we can leave an opioid crisis to one more generation. It's our job to end it in our time. As Attorney General, my office also oversaw the Rocket Docket program, so important to get people out of the criminal justice system and into treatment as quickly as possible. And as governor, I've tried to continue to lead with our shared values of caring and compassion and love and not judgment. I believe health care, including treatment and recovery, and mental health services are basic human rights, and they ought to be there for every single Kentuckian and every single American when they need them. So we've been working to expand access in every region of the state. We've partnered with the Federal Office of Drug Control Policy to provide millions of dollars in grant funding to expand treatment and recovery services. The center of my administration's response is a Kentucky Opioid Response Effort mission. Through this initiative, we're supporting priority populations, including people who are getting out of incarceration, as well as pregnant women who are raising their children. We help our young people through a variety of programs, including Sources of Strength, Too Good for Drugs, Positive Action, and Youth Mental Health First Aid. We focus and help unshame Kentucky because there should never be a stigma about addiction, as well as supporting the Dinner Table Project. And we work with the Purple Star Award Program to help our military-connected students. Our Department for Public Health works with community mental health centers, and what a great job our community mental health centers do. Kentuckians fighting addiction deserve second chances. It's what our faith teaches us and what our current economy requires. So to help, we've launched a program that helps employers guide workers to addiction services when needed. We've established the Find Recovery Housing Now, ky.org, to help people find safe, affordable places to stay so that they can continue in their recovery. And we're working with folks all over the state to establish counties as recovery-ready communities to help people fighting addiction receive critical resources. Through these efforts and more, we are supporting more of Kentucky's families and communities than ever before, helping moms, dads, and guardians, as well as young people. I've gotten to see this in action. Someone I met early in my term as Attorney General, going through an incredible program, putting his life back together, starting 2 businesses, getting back with his family, having his voting rights restored, ultimately securing a full pardon. And now I see him at baseball games, where we sit next to each other, watching our kids, just 2 parents really proud of the opportunities that we're providing for them. That's my friend Ricky, and everyone who is going through addiction in recovery deserves that same happy ending, where we reunite families, where we repair communities, and we restore people's lives. Scripture guides us, yet hope returns when I remember this one thing. The Lord's unfailing love and mercy still continue, fresh as the morning, as sure as the sunrise. To every person here working to help another human being, to everybody who's made it your life's mission to repair people's lives, we love you. The Commonwealth loves you. The people you are assisting love you, and we desperately need you. Listen, we have come a long way in the past 3 to 5 years. One recovery provider telling me he thinks right now Kentucky has more treatment beds per capita than anywhere else in the United States. But we have a long way to go on recovery and other services and supports. But let me tell you this, as long as I'm governor, I'm going to be right here with you, fighting to make sure that everybody has an opportunity not only to get better, but to stay better and to get back with that family. So before I sign a proclamation, which is a statement loud and proud that we believe there should be no stigma in Kentucky, that we should all work together, I'm going to invite a few people up here who are doing incredible work, who many of you are working with directly. First is Representative Keturah Herron. She is long, yeah. Man. Now I can only mess it up. She has long been a strong advocate for recovery programs, and she has quickly become a leader on this issue and many more in the General Assembly despite just being here a year. Representative Herron is a powerhouse, and we are so much better for having her.
Wow, what a crowd for the inaugural rally day. Give yourself a hand for showing up today. It was a few years ago that I met a woman who has now become a really good friend of mine, Amanda Hall. And she talked to me about her journey in recovery. And it was Amanda who educated me, who informed me about what it is to go through the journey of recovery. She educated me on day 1, oftentimes is the same as day 100. She educated me on how to show up for my family members who were battling addiction and going through recovery. And so today I stand here and I want to thank Amanda Hall for her advocacy, for her friendship and her love. This issue was near and dear to my heart, as I've had several family members who are battling addiction, some who have lost their lives to addiction. And whether I get the phone call of, hey, cuz, I'm 30 days sober, to, hey, cuz, it's 5 years, the calls are the same. It's the same warm, fuzzy feeling. It's the same prayers. And it's the same hopes and the same fight that I have to do every day. And so I will use my platform as a legislator to make sure that Kentuckians know and understand the importance of recovery, understand the importance of what our folks are going through as they're battling addiction, and know and understand that it's a journey. I think oftentimes we want to just get to the end result, and it is a journey. It is a continuum. It's a continuum of care. So one of the things that I have done is I have filed House Bill 98, and it would allow us in Kentucky to have harm reduction centers. And to me, that is the beginning step of recovery. And people say, well, how are you just gonna say we're gonna allow people to use substances? Well, let me tell you what this does. It basically allows people a safe place, but the most important is allows them to build relationships with professionals, people who know and understand the battle and the journey. And it's my belief that if we're able to have these harm reduction centers, what happens is those individuals come in, they build trust, they start to build relationships with the folks who are working, and eventually they're going to get into long-term recovery. And so I know that for some people it's like, that doesn't make sense, but trust me, it makes sense. And so I just want to thank the advocates. We could not have had this day without the advocates. I got the phone call and they said, hey, we should do this. And I said, let's make it happen. The advocates really make this happen. The folks who are going through recovery, you all are bold and you're brave. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your life and your experiences. And I know that it's hard, but we need you all to continue to educate us as legislators, educate the people in your community, and stand strong together. Thank you and God bless you.
All right. It's going to be pretty hard to go after that. Next, we have Representative Adam Bowling. In 2021, Representative Bowling championed the legislation creating the Recovery Ready program and has been an advocate for helping those in recovery get back on their feet and rebuild their lives.
Good afternoon. Today we gather to talk about an issue that affects us all, substance abuse and the importance of creating recovery-ready communities. The opioid epidemic has taken a toll on individuals, families, and communities across our state and our nation. It is crucial that we invest in recovery in individuals who have been affected by substance abuse. Recovery from substance abuse is not only a personal journey for that individual, but also a journey that requires support from our communities. We have a moral obligation to help those in need and to provide the resources necessary to help them overcome addiction and regain control of their lives. Investing in recovery is not only the right thing to do, but is also investment in our communities and in the future of our state. In 2021, under House Bill 7, the General Assembly established the Advisory Council for Recovery Ready Communities, which was tasked with coming up with the certification process for communities to engage to become recovery ready. Since they were appointed in late 2021, the council has worked diligently on the standards and programming to become certified recovery ready. Last month, the council voted unanimously to approve the standards of programming and have officially launched the Recovery Ready certification. What does this mean? What does this do? Communities engaging in the certification process will be challenged to provide programming in treatment, prevention, and long-term recovery, creating a recovery ecosystem within their communities. These communities will have a partner and be guided through the process of finding the right programming with the help of Dallas Hurley, Sue Fox, and Volunteers of America. I'd like to thank the members of the Kentucky Bright Leadership Program, class of 2020, where this idea for certification was born. I'd like to extend thanks to my colleagues in the House of Representatives that showed strong bipartisan support in getting this piece of legislation passed. I'd like to thank Governor Beshear and his administration for being an ally and an advocate from day one. Van Ingram in the Office of Drug Control Policy, he was there every step along the way and helped every step along the way. The Recovery Ready Council, Volunteers of America, Jennifer Hancock, Dallas Hurley, and Sue Fox, who have taken the baton, run the final laps, and will continue running as they roll this program out statewide. And last, to individuals suffering or formerly suffering, this day is for you. Individuals can recover. They can get back to work, get back to being mom or dad, and re-engage in their communities. By providing support and encouragement for those in recovery, we can help them rebuild their lives and in turn, strengthen our communities and our state. Thank you.
All right, next up, I'd like to introduce Tara Mosley Hyde. Tara is CEO of People Advocating Recovery, which has played a vital role in creating and implementing programs helping people in recovery. Tara brings considerable expertise to this issue, both as someone who is in long-term recovery and as someone who has worked to bring together government, healthcare providers, and the business community and advocates so that everyone is working together. Tara.
Thank you so much. You know, it took everything in me to sit over there and not cry as I look up and I see all the faces across the room today. This has been like a dream of mine for a very personal reason, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in just a minute. So welcome to the first Recovery Advocacy Day. First, I want to thank our governor, Representative Herron, and Representative Bowling for helping to make this event possible. I especially would like to thank everyone who took time out of their work, school day, or programming to attend this day today. I know how hard it is to show up to these in-person functions, and I appreciate, and the people of this Commonwealth appreciate you being here to raise those voices. You are the most important people in this room right now. Sorry, Governor.
I work for them.
My name is Tara Mosley Hyde, and I'm the CEO of People Advocating Recovery. I'm here today to tell you a story, to tell you why we're here today and what this event means. At 23 years old, I found myself in a homeless shelter that offered a recovery program in Louisville, Kentucky. I was fortunate enough that this place housed me, it clothed me, and for all intents and purposes, it helped me to grow up. It changed my life. I had enough time, support, and resources to initiate my recovery journey. However, what I didn't know in 2011 was that that work was just beginning. As I began to transition from that treatment center, I hit barrier after barrier. I couldn't find housing for someone like me, a then 24-year-old young woman estranged from her family. I had destroyed any opportunity for higher education long before I entered that shelter. I remember beating the pavement every day for 3 months looking for a job, any job, entry level, and was faced with hesitation, closed doors, and concerned faces. McDonald's wouldn't even give me a chance. I remember thinking, how could this be happening? I was doing everything mentors and providers told me, and I wasn't And it wasn't that I was not ready to leave that center. It was that the community wasn't ready for me to re-enter it. As a young white woman, I realized and recognized that I did not fit neatly into a category that society told me that I had to be in order for someone to be and have a substance use disorder. I recognized my privilege and started asking questions. I started asking, why don't we have access to this? Whether it be a recovery residence, a treatment center, support groups on college campuses, alternative peer groups outside of those campuses, recovery community centers where people can find safe spaces and just come together and have fun and live life. When I learned that systems did not exist for me and my needs, I went out and told people that were in positions of power that this is what we needed and this is what I needed in order to be successful. Some of those people are in this room today. If it didn't exist, I worked to help make it exist. I knew that if I was looking for it, that other people were looking for it too. And that most likely we could all work together for the same thing. Since that day, I've not stopped asking those questions, beating the pavement, or raising awareness that we don't fit into the narrative of what addiction or recovery was thought to look like. It's me. I deserve to live, and so many other Kentuckians do too, who are out there struggling today to find work, access to resources, or not able to find somewhere to live in a supported, safe space. Today is the day where we come together to celebrate the lives that found a way out, that were fortunate enough to find recovery. Since 2011, we have been able to establish more recovery residences across the Commonwealth. We have integrated multiple types of support that elevated the philosophy of multiple pathways of recovery, including medicated assisted recovery. We have begun to peel back the layers flawed in the system that was used to oppress people of color who were suffering with substance use disorders for generations, but more work is to be done. It is estimated by the CDC that over 107,000 lives were lost last year to opioid poisonings. For the first time ever, the Black community is leading in opioid overdose deaths. More and more families are impacted by loss and tragedy. We have a responsibility to take action, to raise our voices for the Black and brown community members and ourselves. What better way for us to celebrate Black History Month than to ensure we bring the voices of those from the Black and brown community to every table where we can demand for more for families affected by substance use. We must take action. I'm proud to say that I'm a member of the recovery community. I've been living a life of resilience for over 12 years. I'm a mom, I'm a homeowner, I hold a dual master degree, and most importantly, a person who knows the power of our collective voices. The solution to the opioid crisis is in fact simple. It is preparing our communities to withstand any substance by creating equitable recovery policies in every sector, every branch, and institution. It is simple, and yet we complicate systems when we make our emotions, when we let our emotions dictate and what we think recovery should look like. We have come a long way, and Kentucky has been a leader in the recovery support landscape, and I, for one, am proud of this. But no measure of that is more than the 2,300 Kentuckians that were lost last year as a result of opioids. You are here today with us. You being here today with us shows legislators and the Commonwealth that we are tired of not being seen. And now we have their attention. So we must use our voice for those who are no longer with us. We are showing that recovery is happening, and it is here, and we are alive, and we are present, and we do show up. And it's accessible. It needs to be accessible for everyone. Today we celebrate those in recovery, and we need to take action every day after to make sure that we continue to work towards policies that will save lives. At People Advocating Recovery, we are committed to removing all barriers for those in or seeking recovery. We ask that you join us in this fight. It's time to step out of the shadows and the church basements and stand up for recovery. Thank you.
Next up, Dallas Hurley is the Senior Project Director for Recovery Ready Community Certification Program. Dallas has worked closely with those determining the criteria used to certify communities as recovery ready, and now he's working to help communities apply for certification. Dallas.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is an amazing turnout. I mean, I hope the folks back home realize the electricity in this room. It's heartening. I mean, this is hope incarnate. We're facing one of the most challenging public health and safety crises of a generation, and there is so much hope in this room. And what I hope to be able to give you all is some practical steps in how do we take this hope, how do we take this energy and this advocacy, and how do we put it into action? And that's what I hope that I'm bringing to you all today. I'm very excited and very humbled to be representing the Recovery Ready Communities Advisory Council. This is a 22-person council that has spent the better part of a year talking with experts, talking with survivors, talking with advocates, and really coming up with good evidence-based interventions and a huge curriculum spanning from prevention to treatment to recovery support. What we have built, or what they have built, and what I've just humbly been able to work with them on, is a criteria to move the fight forward. We have to, at a systems level, address all the needs that this population is seeing. And really what we want to see is adoption and certification across the Commonwealth. From Paducah to Pikeville, we really need as much participation as possible. And really what we're focused on is building out local recovery-oriented systems of care and strengthening those connections from the public health department to the police department to the local hospital system to the recovery community center. What we're seeing are those recovery community centers are now anchors of the community, and that they're building capacity and helping folks maintain and really, I think, address the big issue with substance use disorder, and that is, we know it's a disease of isolation. That this disease causes folks to sever those pro-social ties. And we see at these recovery community centers, those social ties are forming. People are getting that love and that admiration and that friendship. So again, part of the criteria is encouraging the adoption of these recovery community centers. So I want to thank all the members of the Advisory Council for their hard work over this last year. I think they've come up with an amazing document, and we look forward to working with every city and county across the Commonwealth to get them certified and to help strengthen and bolster the already amazing work they're doing. So I would also like to thank Representative Bowling for his leadership on House Bill 7. It was an amazing bipartisan effort that was just, again, in this super polarized world, coming together to help the most vulnerable. It restores the soul. It's really amazing and a testament to what Kentuckians do when we unite and come together to address the issue of our time. And I really do believe that this is the public health and safety issue of our time. I also want to thank the governor for his leadership on in supporting this initiative. And if there's any questions, I encourage folks to look at rrcky.org. That's the website where communities can apply or reach out and contact our team. We look forward to helping and promoting this. And also another practical thing that I wanted to leave everyone in this room with, not only supporting recovery-ready communities and really sort of putting the pressure on your local leaders to adopt and apply, but also take a look at the Addiction Policy Advocacy Council's recommendations. I think Tara and Par have taken the lead in terms of sort of combining all of these policy recommendations, and we really want to see a lot of that move. We think that that will save lives and, again, open up opportunities for folks in recovery. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everything.
I think Dallas said something really important. He talked about bipartisan because addiction is nonpartisan. Doesn't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. It can come for anybody. And fentanyl doesn't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. It just comes to kill you. So it's important that we don't let any of the silliness that sometimes creeps into these halls, and it tends to do that, get in the way of what is right. So next, we have Jessica Lawrence, who is from Louisville, who is... Jessica is in long-term recovery and works closely with Vocal KY, which was formed last summer to advocate for those directly affected by addiction and other issues, such as mass incarceration and homelessness. She also has helped the recovery community by volunteering with other organizations in Louisville. I just introduced you, but I think everybody knows you.
All right, y'all. Crowd looking good today. As you know, he just introduced me. My name is Jessica Lawrence Hall, and I am a leader with Vocal Kentucky. And for those who don't know what Vocal Kentucky stands for, it means Voices of Community, Activists, and Leaders. I'm here today because I want to share with you why Recovery Advocacy Day means so much to me. It's because it affects me. I have family members who are out here homeless, on drugs, going out losing it, literally losing their minds because they don't have the proper resources to help them get where they need to be, or even be right here where I'm standing. They look upon them as despicable. We human. Every last one of us is human beings in here. Drugs can affect any of us. It doesn't matter who you are, like he said. Man, we're a step away from dying out here on these drugs, even with just a touch. America says, united we stand, divided we fall. If we as a whole cannot help the divided, then tell me how unitedly can we stand? We demand that our state officials stop treating people who choose to use substances as criminals, because they're not. This could be your mother, your daughter, your father, your auntie, your niece, Governor Andy Beshear. Let's keep it real now. Just because we may not be blood related, we are one race. Yes. No matter the sex. Please understand we will be back and we will continue to fight until our state officials get it right.
Shrita Walden is a licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor who leads the Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition as executive director. She has spent 16 years providing prevention and clinical care to address substance abuse. Thank you for saying a few words today and for providing a Narcan demonstration. And if I can, everybody needs to know how to use Narcan. That impacted me personally about 4 years ago when we were driving in downtown Lexington. Two cars in front of us had smoke coming up from its tailpipe. We jumped out and the guy in the driver's seat was overdosing. As we pulled him out 3 p.m. on a Thursday in Lexington and got him to the ground, he stopped breathing. It was the first time in my life I can remember watching the life drain from someone's face. Narcan brought him back. It's important that we all know how to use this life-saving technique, and don't let anybody tell you that there should be a limit on the number of times that we bring somebody back. The answer is every single time that's a human being.
Well, hello there. I am Sharita Walden, the Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition. So thank you so much for sharing about that. And absolutely, we have a table in the back with Narcan, and if you need it, please come by and get it. Thank you so much for putting this together, our friend in this work. Harm reduction is a part of recovery, you guys. It is not an either or, it's an and, all right? Harm reduction's definition is, the recovery definition would be any positive change, any step towards positive change in your life. Thinking about Representative Couture, you just made me want to shout and do a happy dance to hear that you wrote in and submitted House Bill 98. I had the pleasure on my break to take a week-long drive through our beautiful United States of America and get to see what is happening across the states in regards to harm reduction. I like to hear people tell me and see what the CDC said in 2019, that people who engage harm reduction services, which they are talking about our syringe service programs, our mobile services, are 5 times more likely to enter a treatment program, any treatment program. I like to hear it, but I'm that person that want to see it. You guys, us having that bill sitting in front of us for our legislators to work heavily to make sure we start providing services in that pathway is imperative. We are on the right pathway. Looking across our states and seeing places like On Point in New York, seeing people come into their facility, seeing them working together with the police. The police will bring individuals to their facility. I have seen individuals, when I walked in there, I was able to meet people who went from coming to get syringe service supplies, coming to get other harm reduction supplies, who were now working there as peer support specialists. Now tell me, how does that happen? You know why? Because they're meeting people where they are at, not where you want them to be, right? So, what the last few years taught us, and I'm gonna wrap it up so we can get it going. What the last few years taught us in the treatment world, in the sobriety world, in the abstinence-based world, in the last few years, it taught us that people were not knocking on the doors and banging on the doors. As treatment providers, how many beds were open during that time? They were outside. Everybody is not gonna knock on your door. But you know who will go out there and work with them? My harm reductionist team will. So it's important that we continue to push those types of programs because they are equitable. They do reach the marginalized communities. And if we push against it, if you hear any constituent or you hear any legislator saying that I'm going to take away a program that's keeping people alive, this is what I want you to ask them. So are you okay with people dying? Thank you.
All right, and now I'm very pleased to sign a proclamation, which I'll be doing in just a second, declaring today, February 8th, 2023, as Recovery Advocacy Day in Kentucky. And as the media moves, let's do this in two parts. You know, when I sign a proclamation, they have me sign my first and my last name. And so if we could have our speakers representing their organizations in the legislature up for the first part, but then I'd like to invite those that are here today that are telling the world and willing to tell the world that they're in recovery, that they are here trying to end the stigma. I would love to have you up there to sign the second part of this proclamation because of your bravery and what you're making happen.